Welcome to Rewards for All Seasons, the third season of the Learning About Dogs podcast, featuring Kay Lawrence and your host producer here, Sue McGuire. We continue our very cool journey into rewards and reward skills. In this episode, it's all about delivery and sources of rewards. There is so much we can do with rewards when we are thoughtful about the delivery pattern for a repeat of a behavior. Plus, we take a journey into reward sources. You will be averse to wearing a treat pouch after taking a listen. Continuing on our fun discussion about reward-centered lives with our dogs. We have already talked about so much, but I think one of the things that we really need to start focusing on is, so now we have the rewards. We've kind of vetted the value of these rewards, but there's so much more that we can do with rewards that we often miss when we're working with our dogs. And that's how these different delivery patterns of these rewards can really impact what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. Um, I think what we've inherited is, to me, an overfocus on the behavior. I want the dog to do this, do that, do this, the other. Oh, and there's the reward. The rewards seem to come like yeah, that's the reward. But then we have to look at it from the dog's point of view, where it was like, okay, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, but what's the reward? To them, it's like, what is the reward? And the reward for one behavior serves as the motivator for the next behavior.
Yes.
So if that reward was like, oh, cool, yeah, that's nice, and you said you want that again, but this time you've got to jump higher, go faster, the dog has a lot of processing to do whether what they've just received is worth doing it again or not. So say I have Merrick's out in the field and she's just what I call, instead of cruising, she's just gone hot, which probably means that a deer or rabbit's just gone through and she's got the scent of it, but it doesn't mean it's gone. And I see her start to get a bit hot, which means she's likely to get very narrow focused and go in a direction that's not mine. So I now need to say, hey, turn this way, come back this way, because you're going to get yourself into trouble if you carry on doing that. Now, she then goes, yeah, sure, okay, I'll come back. And I then get a piece of old scrappy food out of my pocket or fuss her ears. And you can see her look at me. She says, do you mean I gave up? I've just given up
Yeah.
the possibility of chasing a deer for that. So
Yeah.
now you look at the long-term effect of not just she came when she was called, but she gave up something of tremendous value out of a habit of responding to me when I call her for something that was good. And all I did was deliver her disappointment. She's going to remember that. That's active learning as much as if I had got a rabbit out of my pocket and promptly chucked it into the grass and let her search for it. Something that is a reward that's better than you expected or less than you expected is going to push her into going, hey, what's happening here? Every
Mm-hmm.
time it's exactly the same as you expected, yeah, whatever. So
Yeah.
keeping that reward engaging, sufficient to carry forward to the repetition of the next behavior, means we have to have an entire reward repertoire ready to fire. So that if she responds and I say, hey, give up chasing that potential deer, come and do this instead, I've got to think on the hop in the 4 seconds it takes her to get from where she is to me to find something that's worthwhile having given that up for. So, having different ways of, it may be a piece of food, or it may be a bunny in your pocket, or it may be a toy. It needs to be, oh wow, that was different. Wasn't expecting that. That was good. So next time she hears that, it's not like, yeah, I think I might just do an assessment for a moment and think, are you going to just get that scrappy bit of out your pocket for me? Or no, I think I'll carry on working the deer. You with me? So
Mm-hmm.
the minute we deliver less than what they were expecting, we are in serious trouble.
Mm-hmm.
They'll probably forgive you once, but they're not going to forgive you again.
Mm-hmm.
So finding and building rewards that are always exciting, might be a 2-year project. For that one occasion, you need to call them back off chasing a seagull off a cliff. So if she comes back and gets a treat, that treat is built on, for her, which took a long time, is chasing a treat. Yeah, so for her, I used to build up these chaser sausages, and she might do her platform training in the barn. So come stand on the platform. Oh, so cool. Click. And I would get a piece of cheese, and I'm going to chuck it this way, or am I going to chuck it that way? Where's it going to go? It's in the air. You've got to catch it. Yeah. So the whole process was a game with the food. And then she's just got to stand on the platform again, and then we go off again and have another game. So for her, I spent a lot of time building tremendous predatory behaviors into cheese.
Interesting.
So cheese
Interesting.
became my chasing cheese, or the chasing chicken, or catching chicken, or frisbee ham. Yes, you get ham slices, you can do frisbee with them. Loves frisbee ham. So I've seen somebody else do another one, which is ham worms. Yeah, she slices the ham into very long, thin slices, like little worms that wiggle around, and plays games with those. So it's not just plopping food into the dog's mouth. Ugh. Because they would not give up the potential of chasing, tracking deer, bitches in season, all that hunting stuff out there, just to come back and be a pelican that you drop food in their mouth. They want some interactive game that ranks as much pleasure as they've just potentially given up. So if you're going to get them to come and say, no, don't chase that squirrel, chase this instead, it's absolutely got to have the same potential pleasure for that the squirrel had, because they will not come off again and again to something that's of lesser value. Active learning is not about always positive learning. Active learning can be, it's just not worth it. Because when I turn up, what have you got? Nothing but a pat on the head. Get out of here.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, but I love you. Good for you. I'm going back out there to chase the seagulls. So adding value to that reward. I like to use food as opposed to toys, because the minute she's chased that chicken, the minute it's swallowed, it's gone. But if she chases her squeaky toy, or she has a tug, there's always that bit at the end where they have to give it up. And it's a bit of a sour end to what was pleasure. So by letting the food organically end itself, I think is a little more, leans itself to better repetition than tug, 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 leave, put it away, do it again. Yes, or go get it, bring it back to me, leave, give it up. Yep. So that little bit of, I'm taking it away from you now so that I can get more training out of you, is a costly... I've seen it cost a lot for some dogs. Yes, they'll do 3 or 4, but on the 4th or 5th one, they're like, no, I don't want to give this up. Oh, all right, okay. Yeah, and if you really just get that little bit of, not like, oh yeah, let me give it to you so you can throw it for me again. If you're not getting that pleasure in the give up, then that reward is not so much pleasure as you thought it was. So having a look at a lot more games with food opens up a variety of how to make that exceptional comeback. Wow, yeah, I'll do that anytime for you.
Yeah.
Anytime.
So you say that there are some things to consider when choosing a delivery pattern. What are some of the things you consider?
Well, there's blending the food with the predatory behaviors that dog's probably got predisposition for. So, I mean, as a Gordon setter, she likes to do, funny enough, she likes to do chasing. Which maybe, her owners of her ancestors wouldn't be too glad about. But chasing a bit of chicken down, great fun for her. If she actually does point a pheasant, she actually has got much of a clue what to do. So she's not that pointy. She'll stand there staring, looking at it, and then you can see her eyebrows sort of doing a lot of up and downing independently, which is like, yeah, I don't know what to do next. She doesn't. My previous Gordons used to flush the bird and then try and catch it as it went. So not interested in that. She likes to catch food, so she'll stand off and we do a bit of tossing. And I probably practice that every day. Every day, it's a pleasure to have a biscuit in the morning that she catches and a biscuit in the evening that she catches. And when we go for a walk, there's plenty of catching. And I've got to the point now when we go out for a walk, I have to tell her to just push off, because she's spending most of the time looking at me to want to play the catching games. So
Mm-hmm.
catching for her. For other dogs, it could be, different types of chasing, searching. Searching shouldn't be too much of a loss. You with me? And I like to make searching, if I'm tossing a treat, we'll search for it together. So
Mm-hmm.
so we play a game where I search. So imagine you pointed your finger out, like you're pointing at a coin on the floor, and that's how I search. So I let my dogs think that my nostrils are in the end of my finger. So so I will sprinkle some kibble in the grass. Now, brown kibble in grass, they have to smell it to find it. They cannot see it. I can see it. So as I'm looking around with my finger, so I'm pointing around with my finger, looking like I'm hunting for it, and I will go, oh, and I'll point dead like I'm pointing like a bird at a piece of kibble, and the dogs come in and they get it. So you can see them thinking, wow, she's a good hunter. Yes. So, but we do it together. It's not like I toss it in the grass, go find it. It's not
Yeah.
like it's the dog's job to find it. We do this cooperative searching together side by side. So we do, searching as a joint activity, not as a
Yes.
one-off.
Hands down, one of my Jack Russell's favorite games. Absolutely.
Searching.
Love searching with me.
But they've got to be quite good at it. The dogs that go, oh God, I can't find the damn thing again. It can be quite demotivating to go, yeah, I've just done this great behavior for you, and I've got to go and find the food. Yes, there's just times when you go, it's like coming home and you're expecting dinner to be on the table, and then they say, yeah, it's only going to take you 40 minutes to cook it. Oh,
Mm.
why do you think takeaway businesses? Yeah, get somebody else to cook for you. Well, yeah. So that's another game. So those will probably serve to arouse the dog. We also then have, hey, it's okay. You stay where you are. I'm going to bring food to you. And we call that breakfast in bed. Oh, cool. So this will mean that I can rummage in my pockets. You don't have to move. Nothing exciting's going to happen. You just rest there. And I put the food in my hand. And look, it's right under your chin. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
easy peasy. So they've just
Mm-hmm.
got to oh, yeah, bring it on, woman. Yeah, bring it on. And I might even have to go and collect it and bring it to them. Yes, from some distance. So this is breakfast in bed where, reward in position.
Yeah.
And it's quite clear. Some people use different markers for different reward patterns. I might use 2 or 3 markers, but the marker is a cue to the dog to orientate to me. What I do after the marker tells the dog whether it's going to be a chaser or whether it's going to be breakfast in bed or shopping. So shopping
Mm-hmm.
is we both go shopping together, and we'll go to a different shop, which might be my fridge. It might be the back of the car. But we'll travel together and rummage around for a treat. And then I can do chaser, or I can just feed them in position there. So having these different patterns ready to go, well rehearsed, well practiced, so the dog's not in doubt if I click and go, let's go shopping and dash off to the car. They're not left standing there going, do I come with you or you go, which is happening. We never want them to be confused that they come with you or that I'm testing them with thrown food. You don't want the dog to become confused between what's happening at any time. So being clear that which pattern's happening is absolutely critical.
Mm-hmm. So you say you have markers just for clarifications, because I was asked this question before, is do you have different markers for different delivery patterns?
No.
And yeah,
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
yeah, no, no.
If no, I have different markers in the sense that if I'm grooming her and her hates to be groomed and her needs a lot of grooming, especially work with scissors, I need her to stay still, and I need to be able to mark with both my hands free. So I will use a tongue click. But
Right.
that marker under those conditions where she's standing on the grooming table looking at the treat pot is definitely breakfast in bed. But if I
Mm-hmm.
did a tongue click elsewhere, she would look at me and then I'll say, hey, we're going to the car to get a treat.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a tongue click. I sometimes use a clicker. I sometimes clap my hands. I sometimes use cool. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so I have a variety of markers, but they don't relate to specific patterns.
Mm-hmm.
The only
Okay.
one that is specific is the grooming one, but it's not the marker that's specific, it's being on the grooming table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, do you use different markers for different rewards?
No, no, no.
I think you've got to be careful that you don't use get it as a marker.
Yeah, no, no.
And I see this often when somebody say training with a tug toy and their dog's doing great, and they'll say get it, and the toy comes out. So the dog is actually seeking that marker every microsecond, every step they're taking, every move they're going, their brain is waiting for the marker to come. Now, if that marker also overlaps the movement of the hand with the toy, any movement of that hand
And
can start to be the marker. And what it does is distort the behavior. So, having different patterns, you've got to be careful that the pattern is suitable because it will affect the repetition of the next behavior. So if I use catch and I say I'm teaching what I call competitive heel work, where I want the dog up on her tippy toes, very engaged, very attentive to me changing direction, moving my hands. And because in heel work to music, we move our hands or props quite a lot, I absolutely have to have a marker so that she doesn't see my hand movement as the marker. But then when I do get the food out, I toss it in such a way that she jumps forwards and upwards to catch it. So the
mm-hmm.
anticipation of that delivery keeps her in this engaged position. If every time I marked, I threw it forward along the ground, she would probably start to do heel work with her head down.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
so your reward pattern, the anticipation of not only I'm going to get pleasure, which gives them attentive learning, but how I'm going to get this pleasure will affect how she does that repetition of the behavior.
Oh, so important. So
Mm.
people rewind that little snippet right there because I think that that's some of the biggest errors I see is that the reward pattern does not complement a repetition of the behavior.
Well, it distorts it. It can. So
Yes.
if every time the dog's doing heel work, you put a treat in what I call the pelican feed, you just drop it in the gob in the heel position, it will tend to flatten the desire to keep working upwards.
Yes.
So does that make sense? What we call our
Absolutely.
steppy up heel work. But if I have trained a dog to walk along with his head down, looking forward, then my food is on the floor in front of him.
Oh, sure.
So if you don't want a specific emotional energy attached to a behavior, vary the pattern as much as possible. So it's always
Mm-hmm.
pleasure, but they don't know how it's going to come.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want the dog to be anticipating in a certain style, so say you've sent your dog out to a cone, and every time he goes to the cone, he rests there until you arrive. When he gets to the cone, he's going to relax. But
Mm-hmm.
if he gets to the cone and you send him to another cone, or you ask him to run back to you to bite or chase or catch, then when he stands at that cone, he's going to be up on his toes, ready for that behavior. So,
Yes.
depending on your delivery pattern, the repetition of the same pattern will affect the subsequent behaviors for good or for bad.
Yes.
And if the
Yes.
dog's at that cone and every time you throw the treat, it's 6 foot short, the dog is going to go to the cone and start to come forwards.
Mhm. Yep.
If every time when you throw that treat, it's behind the dog is going to stay at the cone and look
And
upwards.
wait, and look and wait. Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So, careless delivery will screw up a repetition as much as thoughtful delivery.
Yeah. So part of your planning is to know where and how and for the behavior. Yep.
What do you want the dog to anticipate? What do you want them to
Yes.
anticipate?
Yes.
Very important.
Very important. Okay, pattern. Wow, this is so rich. So, yeah, where are you storing the food? That's a
Yep.
biggie.
Yep.
That's a
When
biggie.
people have got clutchfuls of food in their hands. So I remember seeing a lady teaching her dog leg weaving, and she's standing
Mm-hmm.
with her feet apart, and the dog's doing like a figure of eight between her legs,
Yep.
and she's got food in both hands.
Yep.
And at any point, she drops her hand down and just spills out one treat to the dog. Yeah, so it's a little breakfast in beddy, but she's holding a clutch of treats, so the dog has to take the one treat from her fingertips. Okay, and it's weedy, 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 get it. Weedy, 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 get it. Weedy, get it. Weedy, 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 get it. And this dog's going like the clappers around her legs. And I only turned my back for 2 seconds, and then, oh, have you got any Elastoplast, Kay? My God, did she get bitten or did she get bitten? Ooh, ooh, that hurt. So
Yeah.
watch what you're doing. You got the dog doing the behavior beautifully, but every time the hand lowered, the dog took a treat out of it. What's the dog anticipating? A
Yep.
hand coming
Yeah.
down, grab it.
Bang. Bang. Yep. Yep.
Oops.
Not too sure if we learned the weaving part, but we certainly learned the
Oh,
snapping at the
well, the
hand
dog
part.
learnt both together. Both together.
Can't
I
do
show
one
you.
without the other.
Yes. Yeah, so when she did weaving in the future, it's always jazz hands, way above waist height.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Ouch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Won't do that again.
Hmm.
Yeah. But you do like to, I stole this from you completely. Is I always like to show my dogs this is where the treat bot is. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is this
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
this is where it's going to be delivered.
I think
That's
it's important because some dogs, I will again have a variable source of where the reward's coming from.
uh-huh.
If you always wear a treat pouch, do you think your dog remembers whether you're wearing a pouch or not? They'll look at you and go, she's got no treats. So
Yeah,
I
exactly.
personally
Yeah.
don't like to wear them because they're just too blatant that I'm carrying food.
Yeah.
So you've got a choice. You either have to wear them all day long, or you just have to accept that when you're not wearing one, the dog won't do it because there's
Yeah.
not that
Yeah.
sign there. And
Yeah.
also, people are bad pouch hoverers.
Yes, they
They put it in
are.
the same spot and their hands hover as they think the dog's going to do it, and the dog will notice. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So, we're not, it's not as hot here that I can't nearly always wear what you would call a vest or something with pockets in.
Yeah.
But if I don't want to actually wear a vest with pockets in, I can have the food nearby, but I just have to be able to say to the dog, hey, let's travel. So I will certainly teach them right from the beginning that there's times when I don't wear food, but I will go and get it for you. It's here. There's times when I wear food and there's food over there, but you don't know which one you're going to get, but I'll tell you which one's coming. And there's times when I've got no food over there and I've got no food on me, and we've got to go to the fridge and open the packet. So, they need experience of all of these sources of food, I think, from the beginning, so that they don't learn to lock into, if there's no food reserve, there is no training, no active learning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, it doesn't make any difference. And,
Mm-hmm.
if you are heading towards having to do something with the dog where the food is not on you, from the beginning, you need to be able to travel to that food reward station and teach the dog that whether I'm wearing food or not is not relevant to the pleasure and reward you're going to get out of doing this activity.
Mm. So important.
But I think you
So
also got to be careful that that reward food is not causing the dog to worry about it in a multi-dog
yes.
environment.
Yes.
Put your pot of food on a chair and then somebody else's dog takes a bunch of it. Your dog's not going to give their full attention to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have got to
So
worry
that's
about
the
that.
safety factor for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So we talk about going through a list here. I wrote my little list. Name of the pattern, where you're going to store it, the action, safety of your pattern.
Yes, certainly if you're going to throw food around, is it a safe environment for a dog to be jumping, floor, surfaces, slipping? Is it a safe environment for the dog to run? Are there other dogs there that could see a running dog coming towards them as a potential threat? And vice versa. So, yes, don't start tossing and chucking things if the environment is not going to keep your dog safe. Because you're going to strip away that pleasure. The minute the dog slides to go and get a treat, ooh, they've got to then
Uh,
walk carefully next time. Or they
mhm.
jump badly because you toss it too high.
Yeah.
Yes, or they spin and turn and hitting the furniture as they're going along, or somebody else's dog jumps out at them as they go and get the treat. So absolutely. But this, to me, this is always part of training. You're constantly scanning the environment and doing risk analysis.
Yes, you are. There's
And
one
the same as the
particular.
weavy weavy lady that just had the hands full of food. Is it going to hurt? Well, yes.
Yeah, yes. There's one room at where I teach that I will not teach in that room because the floor is so slick and
Yeah,
so
yeah,
shiny.
yeah,
I just
yeah.
no, no. There's
No,
just no,
no.
nothing
Well, the
good
dogs
is
are
going to
like,
happen.
it's like you trying to walk across a highly polished wood floor designed for dancing on in socks.
Box. Yeah,
And then somebody say faster, and you go, I don't think so.
I think
No, no,
so.
no, no, no. Completely changes your balance walking on ice. So
Yes,
no,
yes.
no,
No, no, no.
no.
And then you say modifiers to the action. What do you mean by that? So changes that you can or include or exclude. What do you mean by that?
Well, variations.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So maybe not so hard of a toss, not so hard of a chase, a little
yeah,
easier
or
chase.
going
That
together
can.
to get it, or sending the dog to get it. Yeah. So you can adapt the patterns. So the dog's catching, but are they catching going away from you, or are they going out there to catch it coming towards them? Now, it might seem like the same thing, but a border collie is designed to prevent sheep escaping. They don't chase sheep, they stop them escaping. So if I'm doing chase with a border collie, he will absolutely, I will go click, you go to your spot, are you ready? And then they will catch it with me throwing it towards them. Yeah,
Hmm.
because that's their innate behavior. For Merrick, yeah, not so good. She's not very good at incoming missiles, much better at chasing after a missile.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
so
God,
those
Vespa was
variations.
so good at catching
Yes,
face on.
but some
So
dogs
good.
can't. We presume
Oh, I
that they've
know.
got that good eye coordination. Some dogs just can't. And one of my collies was not a chance in hell. You can hit me with as much food as you like. Until it's on the floor, I'm not touching it.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Because what
All
was
right.
it? Treat, treat, tablet, treat, treat. Yes.
Suitable for. So you encourage people to make a list of where a particular pattern might best be used.
Yeah, so the same as, if you want to teach heel work, what patterns would you use and what patterns wouldn't you use? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you want to teach the dog to sit in a heel position and, you feed it in position, it will tend to rest in that sitting position at your side. Now, if that is a resting position, that's fine. I've got my dog in my heel position, maybe feed it, oh, that's good, feed it 2 or 3 times in position because I'm going to leave it and walk away. Perfect. But if we're going to set off together in heel work, I don't want that dog resting his pelvis. I want him with his butt on the floor, but those toes tight and ready engaged to step forward with me. So that treat would be definitely out of position. Go get it.
Yeah.
Yes, so
Hmm.
that the dog learns to prepare the muscles for what is going to happen next. So
Hmm.
the same as, standing by the cone. So you make a list of, before you teach something, I would want to know what you're going to teach. Good description. What does it look like? What reward pattern are you going to use? And you may
Yes.
change this over the life of that behavior.
Yes. As it progresses,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I do want to say that that for people who think this is only for professional dog trainers, I have a very basic beginning class looking at reward patterns, and these are pet dog people,
Hmm.
and they're understanding it and they're embracing it. So
Yeah, yeah,
this is
yeah,
this is
yeah.
something for all of us to consider. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, and things like, so say you're teaching a dog to jump in the back of your car, and I don't, it might be that you need to have the dog on a leash for safety, or it's in an area where the dog can be free. Where would you feed the dog? Now,
yeah,
most people say in the car, and I go, no, out the car.
yeah,
Okay. So I want to teach my dog to jump in. Cool. The marker marks them for jumping in.
yes,
Yes. The reward rewards them for jumping out. So you're teaching two processes at the same time. Now, the marker allows you to separate the reward from the behavior. So the behavior was jumping in on, I open the door, wait there, up you get, up, up. Yep, cool. Click. I turn my back on the dog, look in my pocket, ask them to jump out, get the treat. Now, the minute they've had that treat off the floor, what are they going to do?
Turn around and jump back
Face
in.
me. Yep.
Yeah.
No, turn around and face me.
Face me. Yes.
So I'm setting up a pattern that jumping, you could use one for in and one for out, but let's say we've only got so much capacity in the stomach. Let the marker mark the in, the food mark the out, and those two behaviors will lock together so that every time the dog comes out of a car, the first thing they're going to do is turn to face you for the treat.
Oh, excellent.
So it's
Excellent.
never out the car and piss off into the sunset. Yes, out the car, turn around, look at you. Pretty much, so the same as, taking a dog off leash. What do they want to do when they go off leash at the park?
Yeah.
Yep,
Outta
back of
here.
your head. Yep, I'm gone. Oh, off leash, food's behind me. Let's chase it here. Yep, so the anticipation of the reward for that behavior can undo what you're trying to teach or enhance it.
So good. So good. I already know what
You
I'm
know,
going to be
but
changing on Georgie this
But
afternoon.
even if I open the car door, where's the treat? Behind the dog.
Behind the dog. Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep. So not just where they are, behind the dog.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that inclination when you open the car door to sink back, look around your feet.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And several of those for every opening, doing up your shoes, putting the lead on, shutting the door, all those things behind you. I mean, I've got the seat up behind the dog so I can chuck backwards behind the dogs.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just being aware of, don't just give the dog a treat. It's never, from 2020 onwards, we can't just give the dog a treat.
No. Mm-mm. No.
Yeah, it's changed.
But not to say that there's a value of when the dog is in the crate. Yeah. What pattern would you use for maintaining in the crate? All that stuff.
Yeah,
People need to
yeah,
think about this stuff.
yeah. Opening the gate of the crate again. Exactly. Where's the food going to be?
Yeah, in the crate. Yep. All right. So emotional intentions. Ooh, I love this part. Oof. Are
Yeah,
we excited about this?
so when you deliver a treat, this is not the dog's emotion. This is
No,
mine.
this is
Yes.
us. This is
Okay.
selling it, baby. As we call it, the
So if
sell it,
I'm
baby
teaching
moment.
my dogs to jump in the car, I'm thinking I want them to be able to go ahead of me to jump in the car as well. Because often I'll be training, and I might leave the back of the car up, and I say, "You go on, jump in. I want you to go ahead of me." So, this is quite a simple, strongly focused behavior. Yes, not like, yeah, you get in the car, whatever. There's a good boy. And now I'm fanning around. Where's my car keys? Where's the phone? All this stuff. No. I need it to be possibly a safety behavior where I want the dog out the way in the car now. Just from days when we used to work sheep or days when I'm training and I need the dogs to be able to stay in the car whilst the other dogs are training, or if there's something else around, I want them to be able to go back to the car as a safety. Yours might be always a roadside of car and they've always got to get in the same side or something. But, this is like, now in the car, not, oh, let's get in the car. It's not a casual behavior, if you like. If you have a breakdown by the side of the road, my goodness, you may well need the dog in the car. So
Yes.
what I don't want, though, is, again, this is sort of common error. And I'm not sure, it doesn't sound terribly positive to keep pointing out where it goes wrong. But I think if you know where it's the common error that people make, it's going to make you a little more attentive to what you're doing. The common error is to focus on you getting what you want. Well, the dog's in the car. There we are. I've got my dog. Oh, yeah, a treat. Now, have I got one or not? There you are. And the emotion that you then have is, oh, all right, I'll give you a treat. All right. It's a little bit like buying the child an ice cream. What do you say?
Here you go. Yeah.
Yes, what do you say?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I ain't buying you any more then. Oh, okay. A friend of mine bought her granddaughter an ice cream from an ice cream van, and she was about to give it to her and says, "What do you say?" and she still had the ice cream herself. Yeah, she hadn't given it to the child. The ice cream man was giving it out. And she stood there and put her hands down by her side and went, "Now!"
Love it.
Yes. Okay, that's going back in the fridge. So you can either say, "Thank you, I appreciate that," or "Thank you."
Yeah.
And if I ever had somebody say that, I would pretty clearly say to them afterwards, "Okay, this is not going to happen again. Just lost my motivation for wanting to repeat this behavior."
Yeah.
Yes, because that, the way that the the way that's delivered needs to be able to say, "This is your motivator for the next one." So if you deliver that treat like, "Oh, whatever, here you go. Oh, didn't I feed you? Oh, you're so greedy." It's
Oh,
like, yeah, you want me to do this again or not?
yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Do you want me to listen to your cues or not?
Yeah.
So, when somebody says to me, "Oh, how do you get your dogs to listen?" You deliver a treat sincerely.
Yes.
Every treat you deliver is pleasure to the dog. They're going to be listening for those cues, like a hawk. It's a bit of a mix up. They're going to be really paying attention to. Oh, there's a cue to jump in the car! Yay, party! Yes, it's not.
Mm,
"Oh, okay, I'll give you a treat." Oh, whatever.
yeah.
Yes, and when I see people deliver a treat and turn away, talk to a friend, or turn to me and say, "I told you he wasn't very good at it."
Oh,
Oh, how insulting can you be?
mm, mm,
So it runs through life. If somebody's held a door open for you, you don't just go mechanically, "Thank you." Yes,
mhm.
you look at the person in the eye and go, "Thank you." That was well appreciated.
Very much so. Yes.
Table
Yeah.
service. Look at the staff in the eye and say, "Thank you."
Yeah.
Not, I don't see that a particularly good habit anywhere. Yep. Oh, well,
A
they're getting
rare
paid.
occurrence.
They're getting
Yeah.
paid, so why should I have to say thank you as well?
Yeah.
Well, do you want them to spit in your food or not? Oops.
Oh. Oh goodness. Yeah.
So again,
Oh.
you need to practice if you want that breakfast in bed to be calming and the dog to relax. You need to be able to deliver the treat in a relaxed fashion. You can't be too
Mhm.
excited about it. And if you want them to catch it, you've got to be able to line them up. Give 2 or 3 fake hand movements so they get to the right spot, and do it accurately. Tossing it at them and expecting them to do all the work is just lazy training.
Mm.
Disrespectful.
Absolutely. And then the effect on the dog behavior. We've talked about this before.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
must complement the behavior.
Hmm.
But in the early stages, you say you're demonstrating the patterns and the dog is learning about your delivery pattern, which is interesting. It's like they're watching you, like, okay, now what is she doing? Okay,
But
what?
you teach the pattern before you
Mhm.
teach the behavior.
Yes, 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 yes,
Yeah, so the pattern itself is a behavior.
yes.
So if your
Ex-
dog's not used to you going shopping, then you have to teach them what shopping is. If your dog's not used to chaser, you teach them what chaser is. Now, once that's then fluent and the dog can respond every time, get it right, yeah, 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 then you can introduce a behavior that you reward with that pattern. But you can't just change the pattern and expect the dog to go,
wait,
"Okay."
wait a second.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Especially if you've done, leave it training where food has been, tossed around to test the dog out. You can't suddenly then go into chase it.
Yeah.
And I think if you've got this, if you're in the culture of the okay, releaser, get it type of,
Yeah,
what's the
yeah,
other
yeah.
words they use?
Get it?
Yes, you have to teach it. Yes, you have to teach the pattern, but the cue for chaser is your releaser cue. So if your marker has always been "Mark, I bring the food to you, breakfast in bed," I can understand that for certain situations, maybe pet dog situations, if you've asked the dog to sit, mark it, if you've sat, breakfast in bed will always
Mm-hmm.
be the answer. That
Yes,
can maybe help the dog stay in position.
yes, yes,
And then if you want the dog to come out of position, you've got to give it another cue to come out of position because once
yes,
it's sat, it's a terminal behavior. It doesn't
yes.
get taken out.
Yeah.
So then if you've sat the dog and you throw a piece of food and it's a terminal behavior, they shouldn't move to that piece of food.
No.
But if you are going to change and teach them mark, orientate to you, your cue, which would be chaser or catch or shopping, is your release a cue?
Interesting. Good way to look at it. Definitely.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Because it is a common error that people do.
It's not so much an error; it's a choice, but you can't have both.
Yes. Yeah.
So, the big question comes up on many of the clicker training groups. Does your marker release or stay? Yes. Is it a
Yeah.
release or a stay?
It's still out there. It is
And if
is a
yeah,
it's an era of confusion for sure.
it's tend to be written as a rule that I'd never heard of. To me, the marker is whatever you want it to be, but the point of the marker is to separate the reinforcer from the behavior, not to, if you don't, there's no point in using the marker if you're going to continue to breakfast in bed.
Yeah.
So, you know, research what the difference is between the two. I think I've got an article on my website. So is it stay and add the behavior or get the behavior? So it's on my articles page. I'll look it up in a minute.
Okay. And then I'll link it in the
Yeah, yeah.
episode
You,
notes.
you you really got to go through one avenue or the other. You don't get to mix and match.
Yeah.
I don't want the dog getting mixed up between sometimes sit means sit, click, get it, and sit,
Right.
click, wait. Yes, this is
Yeah.
where you may need to use different markers.
Mhm. Okay. All right. And then finally, we can talk a little bit about, well, we already did. We talk about how the location where the dog is eating the food is starting the next repetition. Again, people miss this. Oh, it's
Yeah,
such
yeah,
an
yeah.
important part.
Well, look at the jumping in and out the car.
Yeah. Oh,
If you
very good
taught your dog,
example.
jump in the car, click, give a treat in the car, and I said, well, practice jumping in and out the car. Well, that means I've got to take the dog out again. I go, well, yeah. Now, if the dog only gets food in the car and you're going, well, come on out then, the dog's going, no, I get
No.
the food in here. Why would I want to come out?
Yeah.
Excuse me. So it's the action of jumping in that's rewarded, not the staying in.
Hmm.
So this is where you separate the marker marks the action, but the reinforcer, the food, is delivered where the next jumping in
Behavior
starts, which is
starts.
out behind the car.
Ugh, separate that out. Separate that out, folks.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
some people
Yep.
use two, one for in and one for out. That's fine. But yeah, if you've got a dog that's going to fill up quickly, just the out one is the necessary one.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
you can start the process again.
Boy. Boy, here it is. We're already at 43 minutes. I
Mm.
wonder if we should go into fixed or varied patterns.
Well, that's
And
what I said. If you want to fix an anticipatory sit that's going to be prior to a jump, or like your start lines, or there's going to be a focus forward, then continually feed forward. If
hmm
you want the dog to have this sit, you're going to wait here until I come back, then that would be a different feeding pattern. So
yeah,
you could lock in a feeding pattern to a behavior, or you could always do a variable feeding pattern. Just think of where you're going with the behavior. What's the future?
yeah, yeah. And then how to teach a new behavior. Yeah. Teach a
No,
new
but
pattern rather.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm teaching the dogs to do a spin or a turn, particularly the collies, they will always get food for standing still afterwards. Yes, I
Yes.
don't teach spin, 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 because with certain breeds of dogs, it can get a bit obsessive and not cause them any good behavior. But when they do that spin, stand still, here's your food. That's always breakfast in bed for standing still.
Yes.
So that keeps the stability on that action of spin. Spin, still.
Oh,
Not spin, get it. I certainly wouldn't want them jumping in spin or,
yeah.
launching to a catch, because then you really get some very weird, unsafe shape behaviors.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
Mm.
And people not realizing that, yeah, stand, spin, stand. Nice
Yeah,
bookended
yeah,
behavior.
yeah,
Yep,
yeah,
yep, yep.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, boy, that was a fun one. So that was patterns of delivery. There's all kinds. You just have fun with it, really look into it. Because what I'm really excited about, which is where my absolute science nerd brain goes, is our next episode, which is going to be all about learning and learning processes. So
Yeah.
fun. Reward prediction error. Just throwing that out, just because this was mind blowing for me. Anyway, good.
Cool. Okay.
For more information and links to articles and courses, be sure to take a look at the episode notes. Tell a friend, fellow trainer, or dog person to take a listen to the podcast. Thanks for listening.